Russia using the information space, media operations, and if you will, influencing narratives is a global phenomenon. They're not going to just say, let's look at, the South Caucasus. You're going to conduct similar operations in Europe. You're going to conduct similar operations in the United States.
Y financiábamos 3 chicos que trabajaban en la social media. Básicamente yo dirigía los contenidos y básicamente decimos a la gente, mire, usted use estos hashtags, diga lo que quiera. Y logramos movilizar 6.500 armenios que posteaban todos los días. Entonces, yo tengo el orgullo de que Ariel, que está acostumbrado por su voluntad, estaba furioso y insultaba la hipocresía de la audiencia europea, cosa que es cierta, y decía que había todo fruto de una campaña peronista, que era nuestra, que iba a ser también.
In the past, Russia would have agents on the ground who would try to influence journalists for the nation's newspapers. That has changed radically now because Russia can make its own interventions. It can influence things through online postings. And that is done, I know for a fact, by the intelligence services of Moscow, of the Kremlin. And what they do is access sites that are supposedly absolutely secure, and yet the Russian intelligence services can access any site in the world.
Entonces voy a hacer prueba ahora, y para eso estoy armando un equipito más fuerte periodístico, con gente muy buena que estoy construyendo. Un equipo periodístico, un equipito periodístico para básicamente armar como una agencia de comunicación del conflicto este. Como si fuera el Reuters del conflicto este.
Сейчас происходит то же самое. Что говорят европейцы?
It's going to be in 2 levels. One is a very public, and I would say very open approach. Their media, RT, others are going to present a certain approach to the region. And then there are going to be other, if you want to say, more covert approaches. Manipulating social media algorithms, manipulating discussions in social media and other spaces where a pro-Russian approach is presented, is advocated, and then, quite frankly, radical views within the country are going to be exacerbated.
And the next step for me is see how can organize this in a platform to use artificial intelligence to do this properly.
Estamos usando la física moderna, que es básicamente la inteligencia artificial, para modelizarlo y tratar de organizar el orden global y el desorden global. Tenemos supercomputadoras trabajando en eso.
I think in this particular instance, we are already seeing things like fake AI-generated videos, but we've seen fake news accounts, social media postings. There are just a lot of hybrid tools that can be used that can work to try to influence the outcome of an election.
Yo estoy tratando de armar una compañía que básicamente sea cross-border, que transforme la información que produzcamos acá, que llegue a los políticos que toman decisiones, que llegue a los decision makers, que es una técnica precisa, que llegue a los mainstream media, social media, para que sea masivo.
Гибридная угроза это может быть вот такого порядка. Может быть медиапорядка, когда со всех сторон весь интернет заполнен определенными нарративами, и с утра до ночи мы видим, к какому направлению это ведет.
Well, they use misinformation and disinformation. They take advantage of divisions inside Armenia's society, divisions inside Armenia's different political classes, and they exploit these divisions through key messaging, through propaganda, and through misinformation.
Simplemente el problema de los armenios y esa separación de los rusos es que están muy divididos, muy fragmentados. Entonces inventamos unos hashtags, Option Derail, Stop Greenwashing Genocide, Free Armenian Hostages.
We became a target of coordinated, well-orchestrated campaign of slander and blackmail.
The problem is that we know that there are 17 points there, but and we know generally what about it. Our, let's say, demand, which we now voicing, is to have actual document to open for public. We have to see, and then to do our final decisions over that.
You can be very proud of yourselves. It was a beautiful thing to see. Thank you. Look at that. People live 32 years.
It's about undermining that, bringing Armenia back to Russia's sphere of influence, and changing the narrative of trip process. So for that are used tools very classic in terms of politics. It's nationalism, it's religious influence.
Y le decimos a la gente armenia, mire, usted es una campaña de los armenios por Armenia. Entonces, ponga lo que usted quiera, comida, el menú de la Nagorno-Karabaj, pero use el hashtag. Y logramos movilizar a 6.500 armenios de 120 países del mundo.
And when the whole thing started, the head of the church asked him, "You are our friend, please come protect us. Tell them they are invading church," or something like that. And he didn't have anything to do, like all he can do just to tell it, like we are near church, nobody like government can invade to church.
The Russian playbook is pretty well known if you look at other places around the region where Russia has used hybrid tactics to undermine legitimate state institutions. First, they find divisions in society where they can exploit to create more animosity, more anger, more emotion, to get people motivated to take to the streets or to vote a certain way, and they exploit that.
En cambio, nuestros campañitas, no sé, 500 personas, generó millones de gente que lo siguió y impactó en los mainstream media, que empezó a hablar del tema.
We are for pressuring Pashinyan. We are organizing rallies on the streets.
If you monitor the media reporting in Armenia, you can see that the economic topic or social well-being is not the most important topic. And basically right now, the main topics that candidates, they debate about who is going to bring war to Armenia. People are feeling less secure. That blame game is part of the pre-election discussion taking place in Armenia.
Я знаю, как в Армении они делают. Это реальная, скажем так, война внутри страны, которая, во-первых, информационная, во-вторых, очень часто переходит на личности и переходит в физическую плоскость. То есть те люди, которые обеспечивают интересы России на этих выборах, то есть та же самая партия Дашнактюн, партия Дашнактюн известна своими радикальными подходами, вплоть до безумного насилия, физического насилия, да, в отношении своих же. Это их доктрина.
Well, there are some other smaller parties who are really against the peace treaty, and we have support, popular support as well. This is the Armenian Revolutionary Federation, Dashnaktutun.
И много политических сил, которые настроены пророссийски. Нам бы очень хотелось, чтобы все эти политические партии, политики смогли принять участие в внутриполитической работе в ходе выборов.
We've seen in a number of elections that Russia has had sometimes a malign influence We've seen disinformation campaigns. Russia can use economic leverage, certainly, on countries. It has unique ability to engage with countries in ways that can coerce them into certain kinds of behavior.
Therefore, we like to promote the idea you have to at least mention genocide. And that will influence decision making because European Union carriers cannot make a deal with Azerbaijan either on the genocide.
What we see in relation to these elections particularly is Russia is using all available tools in Armenian society, which there for quite a long time. But we also see that part of that is official positions related to economy, for example, and limitations in that direction. Recently we saw first limitations of Armenian Jermuk mineral water, but at the same time we know that it's for months is an ongoing process of de facto, I would say, economic blockade or economic limitations, sanctions.
Greater threat might be its pulling back on trade or its control of the country's energy grid, Metsamor, the nuclear power plant. If you withhold nuclear fuel, the country can go dark. And we've seen that happen in Armenia. And certainly those are powerful tools, I guess we can call them, for the Russians to potentially use.
102-я военная база обеспечит безопасность интересов Армении и России как членов ОДКБ.
The most dangerous scenario is about somehow direct Russia's involvement in the processes. Still, Russia has military presence in Armenia. So when Russia's representatives, even Margarita Simonian, is saying that there is need to protect rights of Russians in Armenia, she said that just a few days ago. Then, of course, we understand that this is something close to what Russia says about its military actions in Ukraine. So, well, it means that any Russia's military presence in Armenia should be perceived as a possible threat.
Estamos jugando un juego incierto. Entonces, tú juegas el juego con incertidumbre y no puedes garantizar este resultado. Yo hice la experiencia el año pasado cuando Aliyev quería armar lo que llamaba el COP de la paz. Y después resultó que logramos que no fuera nadie.
If you look at Moldova, there were examples of vote buying that were documented by international observers. That's potentially possible. I mean, there are large numbers of Armenians who live in Russia and who could be paid or encouraged to go home to vote and could be coerced to vote in a specific way.
Pero porque teníamos un objetivo muy claro, que era forzar la liberación de los hostages para al menos arruinar la fiesta del competir.
I am more worried about the referendum. I think that Russia has probably the bandwidth and the resources to try to influence one of the two elections, and they will pick the referendum. Because it's easier for Russia to influence a vote that is binary, a yes or no outcome.
Russia doesn't want to overthrow Prime Minister Pashinyan, believing that he still has a very solid social support. But instead, if pro-Russian groups, they get 1/3 at least of the voters, they can create quite a strong constitutional limitations so that Prime Minister Pashinyan cannot fulfill its promises to Azerbaijan.
Եվ այս ընտրություններում Ռոբերտ Սերժ Կալուգացի այդ բանն պրոբելորուսն էլ, որի այդ նույն քոչարանասերժական կլանի անդամը, արդեն ստեղներս եք հասցրել, էլ տեղ չունեք դուք ապրում եք ձեր քաղաքական կյանքի վերջին ամիսը։